What's up there, boys and girls? This is the Chris and Mike Show. I'm Chris, he's Mike, and this is Kelly Mayer, right? Did I say that right? Mayer? Or
Meyer.
Meyer, damn it. It's Kelly Meyer.
Nice to meet you, Kelly.
Kelly Meyer from Find Your Fire. We're going to have an outstanding conversation because he's a really cool dude, and we're just going to dive right into it. Kelly, give us a little background of who you are, what you do, and what you're all about, man.
Well, there's a lot of long stories that go to that, but me in a nutshell is that I come from an academia background. My wife and I run Project Find Your Fire, a business based on personal growth development. We are both board certified coaches,
Nice.
certified in a number of other areas. We do one-on-one coaching, group coaching, travel all over the place, doing workshops, keynote speaking, that kind of things. I've been doing it for almost 30 years. Not
See,
quite
that,
30
yeah.
Wow, that's,
See, that's
really
impressive.
impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking before you jumped on, Mike, that he's like ahead of the curve because that's kind of just been more of a relevant thing to do in the last decade or so.
Yeah, you were way
know.
ahead of your time.
Yeah. Right on, dude. So what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about your like high school, post high school adventure? Because we're all about life resumes here and where you've come and where you've come from and where you're heading, things like that. Because that's what we find the most interesting when you talk to people.
Well, I would kind of like to start with what does that project do?
There you go.
You know,
So what we do is we help people, ignite their own spark, light their own fire, find what excites you in life. Man, if you can find what you're passionate about, what excites you in life, you are so far ahead. The problem is that most people end up in this vicious cycle of redundancy. You wake up, you live the same life every
Yeah.
day.
yes.
You go to bed, and it's just you relive the same emotions over and over and over again. And you never get really excited about life. And so, one of the things, speaking of which, one of the things we take our clients through is sort of the Ikigai principle. And I don't know if you've heard of Ikigai. Ikigai
Icky,
is
I
icky
have
guy?
not.
Yeah, I haven't either.
it's a Japanese concept, and it means the reason for living.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, the Ikigai principle in its whole is a little bit more complex, where you start to discover all of these different areas of your life, and then when it comes into the center, that's your reason for living. So I've discovered a quick and easy version of that helps our clients, find what
Okay.
lights life on fire. So imagine, a couple of different quadrants, this square grid. In one of those quadrants are the things that you're good at and you love doing, which is your
Okay.
passions, right?
Makes sense.
The next quadrant over is the things that you're good at but you don't love doing, which is typically our jobs,
Sure. Unfortunately, for most people, yeah.
right? The next quadrant is the things that you're not good at but you love doing. Like there are a lot of people who like, for an example, golfing. I
Right.
enjoy going out to golf, but I'm going to lose more balls than I start, right?
Sure.
And the fourth quadrant then is the things that we don't love doing and the things we aren't necessarily good at, which is our chores. Laundry, doing dishes, paying the bills. I'm not great at that stuff. I just do it because it has to be done.
Right. It's part of
The
life.
problem is that most people spend most of their time in quadrants where their jobs are and where the chores are. So think left and right. So it'd be like the
Uh-huh.
right side of this block.
Sure.
Those are the things we have to do.
Okay.
The left side of the block are the things that we are passionate about, the things that we are good at and we love doing. Those are the things that light us up, make us excited. And we all have those things in our life, right?
Right.
There are all these different areas when we're doing them in our life, whether it be fishing or hunting or on the motorcycle or whatever it be, that we just feel alive.
Mm.
The problem is that more people are spending time on the other side of the quadrant than on the things that really light them up. Now, the most successful people in life spend more time in their passions than they do with their jobs and their chores. Now,
Agreed.
these people are successful because they're spending more time with their passions instead of spending more time with their passions because they're successful. In other words,
They're not looking at
Right.
it as work, right?
Right, right. So if whatever it is that lights you up in your life, let's say going for a motorcycle ride,
Mm-hmm.
people who are more successful would spend more time on a motorcycle ride than they would in their jobs and their chores.
Kind of like Neil Peart, because Neil Peart used to follow the
That's a great
the
example.
Rush tour bus around on his motorcycles.
Right, right, exactly.
Like as soon as the show is over, man, he's out, he's gone, he's on his bike, and he's tooling to the next show.
Yep. Because that's what fires you up. And
Yeah.
if you can spend more time in your life fired up and excited about life, when you get to your chores, when you get to your job, you're
Yeah,
still fired up about life. You just carry it over. And my wife
that's
always used the
cool.
analogy like, I'm down here working with clients most all day long. I just got off one, and when I'm done,
Okay.
guys, I'm going to jump on another one.
Yeah.
That's what fires me up. I love
Okay.
this stuff. I
Yeah.
love
And it's
That's cool.
obvious. You can see that in people. You know, you can hear it in your voice. You can see
Mm-hmm.
it in your eyes for those of you that are watching. When someone really believes in what they're talking about, it conveys to the listener as well, right? I can feel it. The listener can feel it right now. If everybody was going in that direction, imagine what a different world it would be, right? Just in our mindset and what we thought was important. I agree with you in spades. I think Chris is a good example. I mean, he says, I'm a real estate agent for my job, but it's painfully obvious he loves doing it,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get
Not
my,
everybody
I get,
has that
no.
in their life, right? They're like, oh, fuck, I got to go to work again, right? Here we go again, another day. I'm going to make my coffee. I'm going to drudge through this day, get to 4 o'clock, and then I get to do what I want for 2 hours, right? Or 3 hours.
Oh, right.
That's most people's day. And that's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
True. And so what? See, this is one of the things that Mike and I were poking at. Mike was talking about doing this podcast, so we went back and forth. I don't know for how long. Not too long, because when he asked, I'm like, hell yeah,
It was a few months.
yeah. But so this is something that he and I both look forward to now because we've done it. This is I think 100.
It's like 105 or 6 or
105, yeah.
something like that, yeah.
So, but it's legit. Like we just started doing it where it was just once a week, and then we like evolved because the schedule changed. Like, well, hell, let's just do 2 a week.
Yeah.
And then like today, because the desire to be on people's shows, we have 3 people today. So we're recording 3 episodes, which we've never done before. So it's kind of fun because we're gonna learn from 3 different people from all different walks of life, and that's the beautiful thing about this. Like,
So here's how I look at, not to interrupt you.
No, you're
but
fine. You're good.
This is a great segue into this day for me used to be not non-productive, but it was just different, right?
Right.
So now today, instead of watching documentaries or playing my guitar, or, I still did productive things. I get to talk to somebody that I've known since 1993, 4, whatever,
Yep.
a lifelong friend. And like he said, I'm learning from you now. I would have never known what you did, that you had this organization. I'd like to hear that there's positive human beings doing positive things still, right? Because
Yep.
all we hear is negative, negative, negative all day long. It's just pushed on us through the media for whatever stupid reason. But I want to be the antithesis of that, in that it's not always going to be a positive message, but we're going to find a way to get there eventually, right?
yes, yep.
Absolutely. It's oh, go ahead, Mike. Sorry. Or Chris,
No,
sorry.
you're fine. I just
Yeah, no,
that's
you're
what I
good.
hear out of your organization is, you're teaching people to think like I finally learned to think. Chris learned to think that way before I did, but we all got there in a different vehicle. But it's great that you have a way for people that don't have that avenue to travel. Okay, here I can change my life, right?
Yeah.
I can think in a positive direction too. I think that's awesome, man.
So what's the name of? Okay, so how do people find your company that's centered around what we're talking about?
The easiest way is to just go to the website. It's projectfindyourfire.com.
Okay.
And from there, you will have links to all of our social media, my personal Facebook, and our business Facebook, and all the YouTubes and different links.
Okay. So
Do we
so I
have
wanna
a chat going with him, Chris?
we don't have a chat going with, but I mean, no, I mean him and I on Facebook. Yeah, we have a conversation going.
Okay, if you can send Chris the links, I'll post them
Yeah.
when we post this.
Absolutely.
episode.
Absolutely.
That'll be
So
awesome.
I want to stay on this part of your life before we transition to the other stuff we talked about. So Project Find Your Fire it's obviously a coaching platform, right?
Yeah.
And then you do stuff. If somebody's within your where do you live? Where's
In
home?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Oh, you're just north of me. I'm down here in Illinois.
Yeah. So we got Illinois, Wisconsin, and the dry, boring desert of Arizona. That's cool. You gotta love technology with that. Are you a Packers fan then?
Oh God, no. Oh,
I like this guy even more.
It was just God no, man.
I like him even more.
Did
Mike,
you see?
I have to tell you, I'm not a Bears fan either.
That's all right.
I grew up in Nebraska.
Oh, so you're Nebraska Cornhuskers.
All we have is the Huskers. Like
Right.
I die hard. I will kill for my Huskers.
Oh yeah,
But
Well,
I love college
just
football.
just so you know, I'm not a Cardinals fan. I'm a Giants fan, and there's a whole reason for that. But so I'm not a Cardinals fan. My team is all the way on the East Coast, which poses a challenge. But what is?
So who do you root for as a pro team?
so my adopted pro team ever since I was a little tyke was the Vikings. It always
Okay.
will
Okay.
be. That's my team, and it's been a hard road.
Well, you and me alike, Giants. I mean, you haven't won any championships in a while, but at least you put better product on the field than the Giants have or the Bears have in the last couple of years. The Bears kind of had a little bit of fun last year, and then
No,
they
I'm
went,
with you. I'm right there with you. I agree
Yeah,
with that
yeah.
statement.
Yeah. It's okay. So projectfindyourfire.com is where you can find your business side of life. So if anybody's in Wisconsin and they want to find their fire, they can do face-to-face or one-on-ones.
So my clients who are local, they do have the option of meeting face to face here in
Okay.
the office.
Okay.
A majority of my clients, because they are across the world,
Right.
we
Like
meet
this.
on Zoom.
Yeah.
So, and it works out really well that way.
Yeah. So when you do your one-on-ones with people, like say I decided after this episode, holy shit, Kelly's amazing. I want to find my fire. I don't have fire. I'm, what does that look like? Give us an idea what that looks like, so people listening and watching us on YouTube right now can get a feel for that, and then see if it works in their life.
Sure. So what I would do is guide you to the webpage in the coaching section.
Okay.
And there is a place to, ask about more coaching. And so you
Okay.
would fill out a very short questionnaire, which would give me just an idea of who I'm talking to.
Sure.
What's bothering you? What do you want? What do you
Yeah.
look for? And then we would hook up with a 1 hour consultation call.
Okay.
No charge, absolutely free. We just talk for an
I
hour.
like that. I like that.
I do
Me,
too.
You tell me about you, and then we have to decide, if we're a match. If I'm not a match for you, that's fair. I get that.
Yeah.
Because not every
Yeah, this is a very personal thing, right?
absolutely
Right, but and I've done coaching throughout my real estate career, and that's the first time I've ever heard somebody say, "We're going to have a conversation for an hour just to see if we're a fit."
I used to do that with my guitar students. Your first
did you?
lesson, oh yeah, your first
Right on.
lesson was always free for the same reason that Kelly just brought up, because you may not feel comfortable with me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like our energies may not click.
That's interesting. I
It's
like
not-
that approach.
not
That's a
a
great
good
approach.
right? It's not because you're not a good teacher. It's not because you're not a good student. It's just because the energies just don't
Yeah.
align, and that's fair.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
and
my
I-
mom told me 100 years ago, not everybody's going to get along, and what fun would it be if they did, right?
Right.
You know?
And I-
didn't
yeah, and-
understand that for a long time, but it makes sense to me now.
Yeah, and I kind of have that approach with real estate. And doing it for 25 years, there's been people I've worked with that personalities don't work.
Right.
Sure.
So for lack of a better term, we fire each other because
Yes.
it just doesn't
It's a
doesn't
great
work.
way to put it.
Right? So it's not I don't like you as a human. You're not listening to me, you're not following my guidance, so therefore you're wasting my time and I'm wasting your time. You need to find somebody else that you can relate to better. It hasn't happened that often, maybe 6 times in my entire career, but it does happen. And it's okay. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say we don't work together. So I love that approach, Kelly. Kudos
I
to
do
you for
too.
that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
After that conversation,
Yes.
then what would happen is that if we decide that this is going to work and let's take a shot at it, there are a couple different programs that you can go for, like a 6 session or a 12 session.
Okay.
And then we'll just get set up and we go, and we'll try to meet every other week or so. Sometimes people like to, jump head on and I want to do 3 sessions this week because I really can handle it. I'm like, no, you don't, because when I work with you, different than talk therapy is that I don't want to hear about your past. We're not talking about your past. We
I
need
like
to know
that too.
past,
Yeah.
right? We need to understand where you came from, but it's all from this point forward. think of this point forward.
I
That's what
love that, dude. I love that.
And so that's the work. And I will give you work. You will
Nice.
have homework. This isn't going to be tell me about your problems, tell me about your childhood. Okay, I'll see you in a couple weeks. No, I'm going to put you to work.
See,
And
I
we're
see.
just-
Yeah, I like the homework aspect because the coach I had recently that I'm no longer with, there was no, like, we would have a conversation, right? We would talk about, okay, here's a checklist. Here's these 3 things you need to do. So I would do those 3 things. I was really good at doing anything and everything he asked, right? But then the following week phone call, there was no follow up to those tasks. There was no accountability, which I always thought, well, yeah, like, just because I said I did it, you're not verifying I did it. I mean, you can see some of the stuff on social media,
yeah.
but there was no real accountability to it. And stepping back and looking at it, the whole reason I hired this guy is because I wanted to go from 10 million in production to 20 million in production a year, which has always been my hurdle, closing that gap.
Yeah.
Which after 3 years, I'm like, okay, didn't do it. Breaking ties. I'm like, and now that I look back at it, I learned a lot. I did gain business from the coaching, and some of my approaches have changed. Like, I've consistently dropped reels on YouTube for 210 days, which is unheard of. Like, there's
Yeah.
there's people that have a problem dropping one reel, right? When Mike and I started this show,
For those of you who are just listening, I just threw myself under the bus. Chris has done amazing at not only his business side of it, but the podcast side of it too. Our podcast page has grown leaps and bounds since March just because of this consistency. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, but I was
I'm
going.
just proving
I
his
was
point for sure.
right, but I was going there because when Nikki and I were talking about this the other day. So I've been in real estate, like I said, 25 years. So I've had a YouTube page probably since 2004 or 5. So to put it in comparison, I just really started like hyper focused on the Chris and Mike show page. Probably November, December, right? Even though we weren't.
You really turned it up in March, though.
Right. So just from that alone, I think we're almost near or just past 80,000 views. Now to put it in comparison,
Yeah, 82 now, I believe. Closing in
Okay,
on
wow.
83. Yeah, it'll be 100 soon.
so comparison, my personal Chris Dunham YouTube page, I'm just under 500,000, and I've been around for over
20
20 years. So the difference in how you approach things. Now, nobody back then knew what the hell YouTube was about. Nobody understood SEO content. Nobody understood hashtags and keywords and none of that. So taking everything I know now and applying it towards the Chris and Mike show page, it's mind-boggling the success and the trajectory it's going, and it's all organic, like all of it.
Yeah, we're not paying big money for advertising. This is just him doing this on his own, using his brain and saying, okay, I'm just going to be consistent and I'm going to do it at the same time every day and blah, blah, blah. But consistency is the key word that we both keep
Yeah.
using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that being said, when you're doing your stuff, I'm assuming you have a YouTube page and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things we do, we like to go like each other's stuff and subscribe because then it helps everybody grow organically. So on your YouTube channel, because we're not looking at it right now, do you have training videos? Do you have give us an idea what that's about? And then I'm going to change our subject here in about 10 minutes.
Okay. First, I want to go back to what you said before is
Okay.
that one other thing that I give to my clients that very few people do is that I hook them up with an app.
Okay.
And every Monday, I check in with every one of my clients. I'll
Right
send
on.
a message. Now, I don't schedule clients on Monday. Monday is my office day, my administrative day, but I
Okay.
take time. I check in with every one of my clients on Monday.
Accountability.
Here's your homework. How's your homework going? Do you have any questions? Give me the highs, give me the lows. What's going on in your life right now? Check in with me. Let me know what's happening every single Monday. Does everybody respond to me? No. But they have 24/7 access to me. That doesn't
Cool.
mean that I'm going to answer your question at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm not leaving you hanging. I need you to know that I'm jumping off this bridge with you.
Yeah.
And so
That's awesome,
we're
man.
going to get through that. Now,
So there's a total level of accountability on a weekly basis, regardless if you're coaching me and I'm not responding, I still see that you're poking at me.
Absolutely.
I still that you're saying,
He's
hey,
in the
Chris,
back of your mind.
Yes,
Absolutely. And it's not that hard, but
It's not that hard, but it's a missed concept, man. Because I've done the Buffini, Ferry, Joe Stumpf, here, just all kinds of coaching real estate platforms in 25 years. And I'm not bullshitting you, Kelly. You're the first one that has ever said up front, number one, it's an interview, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then it's all about now moving forward. Your past is your past. Stop dwelling on that shit because so many people do.
Yep.
And number three, I'm going to hold you accountable. You're going to get work. You're going to get homework. You're going to be, I love that.
Here's a
dude.
quick example. So when I was given lessons,
Yep.
I would give you your lesson for the week, and I would be very clear. If you come back next week and you haven't done the work, we're going to learn the same thing next week that we learned this week. That was up front too, right? And you're going
Nice.
to pay me again.
Yep.
I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to lose my temper. I'm not going to be disappointed in you on any level. But this has got
Right.
to be clear. If you haven't done the work, we're going to do the same thing next week because I already know how to play, right? That's why I'm
Right.
not disappointed. That's why I don't care. You're not hurting me. You're hurting you
Yeah.
because you just lost another $20, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and going back to that is one thing that what you guys don't see on camera is that on that side of the camera, I have my entire wall is whiteboard.
Okay.
And I have little notes to myself. Like,
Well,
because
spin it around. Spin it around, man. Let us see it. Is
Yeah,
it possible?
I love that
guess
too.
Is it possible to spin around? Let's see. Oh, there's the books. The wall of. Oh, there you go.
That's awesome.
Outstanding.
For those of
And
you who are just listening, he's just
that's-
proved his point. He's got notes in different colors all over the
Right
whiteboard.
on. Right on.
That's
now,
awesome.
what's the project Find Your Fire? What's the statement behind you? Because that's been poking at me this entire
so
time.
this is actually just a banner.
Okay. Yeah, I figured.
When I do public speaking or something,
Okay.
I just put that
We
up.
want to know what the statement
We
is.
want to know what
below
it says though. Be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul. Oh, dude, I love that.
That is
Be
awesome.
fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.
Yep. And then a little bit of what we offer.
Games, public speaking, books, workshops, coaching, and personal development.
I
And,
So what
love
kind of
that
games
quote.
do you play, man?
and of course, what musician wouldn't have an office without a
See,
couple of guitars?
see now that's the perfect segue because this is Kelly Mayer. I can
Yes.
say it right.
We
Mayer.
got to talk
Mayer,
music
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Meyer.
My
Okay, so
gosh, I don't know why I'm looking at that saying Mayer. Meyer. Kelly
okay.
Meyer, Project Find Your Fire, is with us today, and he's got some sleeve art going on. He not only is a coach and your father,
of four, yeah.
a father of four, and a husband, almost 33 years, I think you said, which is
Next
fantastic.
week. Yep.
Next week,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Thank
So
you.
let's segue into the rock and roll, man.
Yes. Let's go back in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, Wayback Machine.
Wayback Machine. Yeah.
So Kelly's in high school. He doesn't give a crap about school and learning.
What year
because
did
he-
you graduate? First
Because he wants to be a rock star.
88 is when I graduated.
89.
91.
There you go.
Okay, so we're all within 3 years of
We're
each
all
other.
within 3 years.
Yeah.
So where'd you go to high school?
Just south of Lincoln, Nebraska, in Beatrice.
Okay. So terrible student, could care less because you had aspirations to do something out. Those aspirations were?
To be a rock star.
There you go. And what
Well,
did you?
all
I
three of
actually
us.
had a backup plan.
Okay.
Me too. I did too.
My backup plan was it was rock star,
Mm-hmm.
or I was going to be a stuntman or a rodeo clown.
Nice. Oh, brilliant. Because all of those are, that's like me. When I went to school for journalism, I'm like, I'm going to be a writer. And I won some internship and realized, well, this sucks because you don't make any money for busting your ass for 20 hours writing an article. So that's so brilliant. Me, you just go from journalism, which is hard to break into. Let's go to acting because acting is a surefire way to
That'd
make
be
a
easy.
living. So, and then, then that transitioned into music. It's like, okay, so pick the three most difficult things in the world to actually be successful at, because why not? Right. And so now I'm ending up selling houses for a living and changing people's lives. So there's no anger with that. What instrument did you play? What was your role in the band?
Guitar,
Okay, cool. Lead, rhythm.
lead,
Okay, right on. How many members in the band?
5.
5. Okay. So what were the breakdown? 2 guitars, bass, drums, singer.
Guitars, bass, drum, singer. Yeah,
Cool. And what kind of music?
metal.
Right on.
Metal.
Well, it was hair band. It was, oh man. So it was like one of those times when, through the late 80s, the greatest generation of music.
Yeah.
And then what happened was I graduated in 88. The band, because of our age and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
just sort of late to the party.
Okay.
Did not get into the grunge thing, could not do it. So we stayed
Okay.
with the metal thing, denim and leather and, the
Right.
yellow shirts and all.
Judas Priest, a la Judas Priest, Motorhead,
Yeah. So,
Saxon.
yeah.
Saxon for sure. They wrote the song Denim and
Yeah.
Leather.
Right.
And,
Brought
so
us
there
all
was a
together.
time I think that, we were just wrong time, wrong place,
Mm.
loved doing what we were doing. But, um, so what happened was, oh, I have to go back
Okay.
earlier because this is a life story too. And this
Okay.
was
Okay.
sort of the changing point in my life, and I didn't realize it at the time. But when
Cool.
I was about 14, I wasn't even in high school yet. And I started spending time in a place that I probably shouldn't have been, especially considering that I was supposed to be in school during the day. But I loved playing pool, so that's where I ended up
Mm.
spending most of my days.
I was gonna say strip club, but same line of thought.
Yeah, same
Pool
line.
hall for sure.
Uh, so there, one day, um, I went to first period, which was band, because I was a band geek, and
Right.
then I grabbed my pool cue from my locker, headed down the street to the pool hall. When I walked into the door, there was an old man getting off of his bar stool at the very end of the bar, and he
Okay.
started walking towards the front door as I was walking towards the tables. Never seen this guy before in my life. And when he got to me, he stopped dead in front of me and he said this to me. He said, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm Kelly." I was just
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
punk, right?
Yeah. Come on, man.
I'm Kelly.
You don't know me? Come on, dude. What's up?
Yeah. And he looked at me for a long time and then he said this to me. He said, "No, you're not. And the
Hmm.
sooner you figure that out, the better off you'll be." And he walked out the door.
Oh.
And I thought, now here I am, just a pimply faced little
Uh huh.
junior high punk.
Right.
What a weirdo.
That's deep.
That is deep. I got chills when you said that, man.
Me too.
That's powerful.
And I didn't even realize it at the time.
Well, how could you at
Shortly
that
Yeah.
age?
after, shortly after my encounter with the old man, I started going through that weird teenage phase, like the discovery phase,
Mm.
try to figure
Yeah.
out who you are and stuff like that. It was actually that crazy old drunk man's words that came back to my mind. The sooner you figure it out, the better off you'll be. And so I took a stand. This is who I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to represent. And this is what
Cool.
I'm going to fit into my life.
Cool.
Was it right? No. But at least I made a decision and I watched
Yeah.
my friends all, try to figure out who they were. I never fit the social norm. It was always the hair. It was always the earrings, the nose piercings with the
Mm.
chains and
Yeah. Oh, you had those too, like
I
Snake from
did. Yeah.
Skid Row.
Skid Row, yeah.
Right on.
Even before the ink, I would draw all over
Oh
my
yeah.
arm. I would create my own tattoos sitting in class because when I didn't want to do that, it is just like I didn't even really care because this is who I'm going to be and this is what
Yeah.
I'm going to represent. And so I think that fed into what I would ultimately become. And actually, at the age that I am now, I'm going to be 56 in a couple of months.
Congratulations.
I still hear that old man's words.
Well,
You
you obviously because you brought it up.
Yeah, it was so important to me at that time and, throughout my life. But then playing in the band, not being in school, and
Mm-hmm.
doing the thing, how it turned out was that after I graduated, um, I graduated, I think by default. I think they just go away,
It's too small of a town not to graduate you.
be done. Yeah. Um,
Go away.
started playing with the band and was going really well. And right away ended up opening for Head East on a
Cool.
couple of shows, like,
Never been any reason.
yeah, like the
They're from Illinois.
fair 300 people kind of shows,
Yeah.
but at least it was headline or opening for
Sure.
really a big name act. Um, started picking up some momentum, and in the process, I did find sort of an avenue of escape. Is that there was a college that had an audio and recording degree.
Oh, nice.
Learned to be like an audio engineer.
Sure.
So
So I did start doing that, and
yeah, I
while
did that through the College of
Yeah.
Hard Knocks.
I would say
I
this
built
guy.
my own studio
Yeah.
twice.
oh,
Well, 3 times now.
nice. While I was doing that, then we got picked up by management, and so we started opening up for more. Alice Cooper was one of them.
Nice.
Just sort of a local, regional. We were the local band opening for in a local like
Sure.
wing alley bar room type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Alice giving sort of this speech. He came into our dressing room
Is
as
this when was Alice still drinking or was he sober by now?
he was sober.
Okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Okay, I got it.
He was air quote sober.
Yeah. Yeah, Alice lives in Arizona. I've done my some of the past things I've done. I actually met his original guitar player, Michael Bruce,
Oh yeah, cool.
and actually had, probably 4 or 5 really deep conversations that we on
You did
different shows
interviews
that-
with him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So super nice guy.
Yeah.
Just so that's why I asked about the Alice where he was at when he came in. So go ahead with your story, your Alice Cooper story.
But
Oh,
he
what was the name of the band? You didn't say that.
Highlander.
Your band, Highlander. Okay,
I like that.
Highlander. Oh,
We didn't wear kilts though.
I love the series, so I'm automatically
yeah,
a
yeah,
fan.
yeah. Okay, so this is Kelly. He's talking about his band Highlander, and when they were on tour with Alice Cooper's coming into the dressing room, or they opened for Alice Cooper. Alice
Yeah,
Cooper's
it was
coming
just
into the
like
dressing room.
one
and he's-
single show.
Yeah.
And so he's like,
Yeah.
you guys seem really nervous. Yeah, kinda. And so he gave us like it was like this dad speech.
Pep talk?
Like like the dad pep talk. Like it's gonna be okay. And here's sort of what to focus on, and it's gonna be okay, and you guys are gonna do great. And so it was just sort of those he was a really sort of nice guy. I didn't get to know him
Yeah,
much more than that, but
yeah.
after that, as things progressed, we ended up doing a show in where were we? In Omaha, again at some ballroom, and there was an A&R rep there. Just happened to be a great show. The crowd was into it. Good
Nice.
turnout.
Don't you love that when that happens?
Oh yeah,
Everything,
Oh, yeah.
everything's just on point, and you just
Nothing
come
better.
off stage like,
like the energy was just right.
yeah,
That's the best high you'll ever have in your life. I can tell you that.
absolutely. Yep.
And then after the show, he talked to us a little bit and said he would like to hear more and invited us to record some demo material and they would see what they could do with it.
Cool.
And ended up with
Who was he in A&R for?
Capital.
Capital.
And we ended up with a 3-album spot. We ended up doing 2 of those.
Cool.
And between the second and the third, we had already had recorded a bunch of stuff, but nothing really grounded. And that's when the accident happened. We ended up rolling the bus down the interstate.
Oh
And,
no.
Oh, kind
So-
of like Metallica.
Yeah, kind of like Metallica, except everybody survived.
Wow.
Then I and one other person spent considerable time in the hospital, sort of trying to think about life's choices.
Mm-hmm.
That time it was, we had a lot of fun. We had opened for, Poison and Skid Row and
Nice.
a few other guys, but we were like, when I tell this story, I always tell people don't get so excited because we were like the opening band to the opening band, like the local regional.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
we're familiar.
Yeah, been there, done that. Our shows we played range from opening Tony McAlpine, Marshall Tucker Band, Enough's Enough, Sacred Reich. I mean, it's just we were that type of music. I explained to people we were Creed before Creed was Creed because that's how I wrote lyrics. I didn't write songs about getting laid and drinking and shit. It was real life stuff. Mike had his own style. You couldn't compare Mike to anybody. Mike created Mike's sound. But
The
because
crazy
of,
thing about us, man, is we
Yeah.
could get booked from the list he named you. When
Yeah.
you tell people that, they're like, "Oh yeah, now I know you're lying." We opened up for the Marshall Tucker Band
Yeah.
right in front of them.
Yeah.
And we opened up for Sacred Reich right in front of them.
Nice.
You couldn't get a more further
Diverse, right.
musical
Or
genres
right,
apart, right?
right.
But somehow
that's-
he's right. We slid into that because we weren't so heavy that we offended people that didn't like that kind of music.
Right.
But we weren't bubblegum rock either,
No.
you know?
Yeah, we weren't. I called it. We weren't. What did I call it? Tucson or Tempe, candy ass pop rock. We weren't. We were in that same window of the Gym Blossoms and the Refreshments and the Dead Hot Workshop, that local Tempe Jingle Jangle.
That's
But
it.
we weren't the Tempe Jingle Jangle sound. We actually had substance behind our music, and we could play with anyone, like we just kind of talked about. It didn't matter. Like our songs could stand alone. Even the one that starts the show, Free Man, lyrically, that's still relevant today.
That's awesome.
It's insane. Like a lot of our stuff that we wrote initially could still be relevant and being played today because of, I don't want to say I was ahead of my time, but some of the social things I talk about, they didn't exist back then, but they're still relevant and more significant in today's world than it was back then. Or back then, I was just writing to write. You know,
Right.
I always
It was-
tell him, man, the thing that attracted me to his lyrics were that anybody can take them and interpret them how you want, right? A lot of people might interpret them the same way,
Yeah.
but then you put 10 people in a room, there's going to be 2 people that interpret it 180 degrees from everybody else, and you're like, oh yeah, now I see that angle too, right?
Yep.
Yep, that's absolutely true. And as a music professor, I used to teach musicology. And John Cage, there was a composer in the 50s named John Cage. He was an
Okay.
experimentalist. And
on.
one of his quotes, and I love the quote, as he says that people can go to a concert and leave just as stupid as when they went in.
That's great.
So yeah, the varying in styles. I talk about the metal band and the hair and all that stuff, but on the side, I actually had a gig for playing with Johnny Cash and Marie Osmond as
Nice.
a contract musician.
Cool.
I wasn't part of their band,
Right.
but they would always hire these contract musicians. So I did a couple of shows with each of them. Very
Nice.
much not my style, but it worked out. So
That's awesome though. But
That's
two-
very cool.
Definitely 2 American icons for sure.
oh yeah, yeah.
So you said that between the second and the third album, you had this accident, right? So
Yeah.
did the third album ever come out?
What they did is they ended up putting bits and pieces of stuff we had already recorded into the third album so that we could satisfy the contract.
Okay.
But it really was trash.
So was the band done before that album came out? Because that's what happens a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So what happened was I made the decision while I was still in the hospital to just
Oh, so you got hurt.
yeah.
So I googled Highlander the band. Dude, there's a Highlander Celtic rock band, Celtic music.
No, that's not us.
There's the Highlanders. Then there's Highlander music, and there's HP Highlander band. There's Highlander.
Are these albums still available?
That's why I was doing this.
I mean, I'm sure they're out of print, but they would belong to Capitol Records still.
I don't know
And,
what
and you
So
think they
type
would
in
be,
Highlander Capitol Records, Chris.
Okay,
You got to
'cause you-
get specific with the
okay.
Google
Well,
machine.
yeah, because I was thinking maybe still on podcast or not podcast on Spotify or Apple Music.
if they
Highlander.
are. I have no idea.
Yeah, there would have
Capital.
to be some representative. That's why we're not on there, because you or I would be a representative of that music.
Great.
Yeah, it just comes up Highlander Capital Management LLC.
Yeah. He falls into the same category as us when people
Yeah.
say, "Hey, how can I find your stuff?" Well,
Yeah.
we were pre-internet, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
band and our music lives were definitely. Chris used to record us on what was it, a mini
A little,
camcorder?
like a JVC handheld camcorder.
And that
I'd
was the
record our
highest
practices.
technology
Yeah.
you could have at the time, man. We were all like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit, you got a camcorder?"
Yeah, lay away from service merchandise. Beautiful thing, man.
With a little Fostex 4-track.
That's what I had.
That's
to
it,
start
Mike. Yeah,
with.
yeah.
Yep. And then I
was-
went to an 8-track quarter-inch reel-to-reel.
Yeah.
It was a Tascam. That was high tech, man. I had
Oh,
a
yeah.
12-channel board and that 8-track. Chris did a spoken word on there, and then we actually recorded the song you're listening to in the beginning. That was recorded partly in my apartment and partly.
I was in the bathroom.
Yeah.
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 I mean, the one benefit of singing in a bathroom is you have a mirror, so you can, if you know what you're doing as a singer, you just focus on your mouth as you're singing in the mirror, and because there's little hints and tips that people don't like with to sustain an E, you push your tongue
Yeah.
down to the bottom of your bottom teeth, and you press it there while you're holding the note out. Well, when you're standing in front of a mirror, because I learned this in vocal, when I was in college, I did vocal voice and diction because I was theater major after journalism. So those are
Nice.
little things I learned in that. Part of it was we had to hold a mirror in front of our face in the class when we were doing certain exercises. So it's actually a benefit to be standing in front of a mirror when you're singing, because then you can remember those little tiny nuances from a singer's standpoint that make sure you don't go sharp or flat. Just subtle little things you do with your mouth and your lips and your tongue, and it's
Yeah.
So it was fun. Plus, I'm not in there by myself. I'm singing to my reflection.
And the downside of singing in a bathroom is during mix down, you can't say, "Hey, can you take a little of that reverb out?"
Right. I always had a little bit of reverb on my voice because I like that subtle. I don't know how to explain it. Just
He was he
Yeah.
was so easy, Kelly, because he has a natural Southern drawl. He doesn't talk that way, but he sings like he's in Molly Hatchet, right?
Yeah.
Nice, nice.
So it's easy to put a very light delay just to carry out the end of every note into the next measure, right?
Yeah.
I never needed to I would put a slight delay if there were things that had a bunch of open spaces, right? But I would time it to the beat so that you would really never even know there was a delay there unless it was a wide open space, right?
Yeah.
Right.
He
Yeah,
just has
I
a
love
naturally good
that one
singing
too.
voice.
Yep. I love putting a little bit of that on my guitars too. Is
Me
that
too.
you don't notice that it's a delay there. It just thickens it up. But it's
Yeah.
that if you take it out, people go, something's different.
Yep.
It makes it a bigger sound. Like you want to fill the space, and music's
was
all about
just-
filling space.
I was just fascinated that, as a musician, we understand that music is mathematics, right?
Exactly.
I never thought after I became a recording engineer and a live sound engineer that you have to subdivide those effects into that same time signature, right?
Yeah.
So now you have to time your delays and your reverbs to the actual beat of the song, and they have to change as the song changes.
Yeah.
That guy back there running sound is not just finding a happy medium and then standing there and watching the show the rest of the night, right? He's probably working harder than anybody else in that room.
It should be.
Absolutely. Because see, I can attest to that a little bit because when I was doing the theater major, I did all the facets. So I ran lights, I did the sound, I learned all those different things.
It's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. You're not just sitting there watching what's going on stage. And you have the cues and you have these checklists and these note cards. Like, I got to do the lights here and that, and the music, the sound effects, blah 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 blah. So yeah, people think running sound and stuff. Oh, that's a great gig. You're just sitting there watching the show. Well, not really. You are, but not really.
So while we're talking about this, I got to know.
Okay.
What was your rig? What guitars did you play? What amps did you prefer?
So my go-to amp setup is a PV VTM 120,
Okay.
and I ran through vintage Ampeg cabs, 412s.
Nice.
Okay. Very popular during that time.
That was my setup. I ran dry mostly. I had a delay pedal and a compressor, and that was really it.
And for people listening, a delay just makes the sound ring out, and a compressor keeps it from feeding back. You're just basically pinching the sound to make it fuller, more bottom end, right?
Yeah.
I did the same thing, nice and tight. You want that speaker to just be blowing air forward all the time.
Absolutely. I have that was side A, and then my side B was a PV Renown.
Oh, that was my first amp that I ever got a compliment on.
I took the two 12 speakers out of it and also ran it through.
Those were Black Widows, right?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
I ran that back through the Ampegs also, but that was my acoustic setup. So on my electric side, I had the VTM, and my acoustic side, I had the Renown.
So here's one thing that I noticed. PV has some of the most, and that's the reason it's used in country music a lot. For people that don't know that, PV is super popular in country music
Yeah.
because their clean sound is probably only second to Vox. Or no, Roland.
Yeah, yeah.
James Hetfield has one of the most beautiful clean sounds, and Kirk Hammett has one of the worst. Why? How he can listen to James's all the fucking time and then think that the shit that's coming out of his when they're playing clean is a good guitar tone? I don't get it. His ears don't work right. But the PV Renown had a beautiful clean sound. Marshall's the same way. Their clean sound sucks.
Yeah.
you have to doctor it. I used to use a Quadraverb GT because I met Chris at a Candlebox concert, and I loved Peter Klett's clean sound. I've sent him messages on Facebook giving him compliments on that. I was like, I totally stole your clean sound just because, you know, you listen to Far Behind and beautiful, beautiful clean guitar. I was like, I gotta know where
that's
he
a
got
great
that sound.
song.
Oh,
That's a great
fantastic,
song.
man.
Yeah.
It's the Quadraverb GT, so I put that in my rack and I bypassed just stuck it in the effects loop on the Marshall and just bypassed that clean channel and used that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So
Yeah,
for my guitars, I prefer my Jackson. I've got a Dinky Rev, the USA mid '90s Dinky Rev.
So we prefer the same company. My baby is a Charvel STX Custom.
Yeah, my Charvel that I really love. Actually,
My
right.
Jackson got stolen.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. I
Yeah,
remember
you
that.
were there
No.
for that.
Yeah.
My Jackson got stolen too.
Oh
When-
my God. Maybe it's the same guy.
When I started teaching college in Coffeyville, Kansas, I had all my guitars in my office. I came in one Monday and one of them was gone. Like I knew instantly, like all the cases were lined up, 12 of them. All the cases were lined up. I unlocked the door, turned the lights on. I'm like, something is different. Something is wrong. And I started looking around the office, like, what the heck is going on? And I noticed my Jackson was gone.
Well, here's what happened to me, man. I was working at a pre-press house. I was a scanner operator. That was my backup plan. I went to school for graphic arts, and it was pouring down rain that day, and I had a gig right after I left work. So I had my guitar and all my effects in the back. And the guy that was working maintenance at the place came running in, and he said, "Hey, man, somebody busted your window out, and I can't believe it. Your wallet's still there." Because
Yeah.
I had left my wallet in the car. And dude, I didn't even have to think about it. In a tenth of a second, it hit my brain. I'm like, I said it out loud. My wallet's still there because my guitar and all my fucking effects are gone. And sure as shit. So that's how I ended up with this STX Custom. It's crazy how the universe gives you what you need sometimes. This thing has been with me for, 35 years now, 32 years. I would never get rid of it because that thing I can get sounds out of it I can't get out of another instrument. Every other guitar it's good, but it's not that one, right? I'm sure you've experienced the same thing being a player for this many years.
Yeah. I ended up getting my Jackson back actually because I called the police, my dean at the college, and they sort of put together this quasi
Task force.
thing. So I started watching Craigslist.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Craigslist was huge
yeah.
back then, right?
A guitar came up for sale on Craigslist. I'm like,
I recognize that guitar.
I know that guitar. In fact, I had a case that I put all of my picks inside the guitar case, and it was still there. Like everything was there. So I called the police department. I'm like, I have my guitar. And they said, okay, I want you to go buy it. We're going to come with you.
Right on.
So I ended up getting my guitar back, and the guy goes to jail.
That's
Did you
awesome.
Did you wear a wire?
No, I didn't have to wear it.
Oh, that would have been cool, dude.
No, he took the
So
cops
what
with him.
happened
He
was-
was gangster.
I was going to meet him in a parking lot of some store, a public parking.
Yeah.
And so the detective said to me, excuse me,
Yep.
we're going to watch from over here.
Okay.
He said, as soon as you pick up the case and walk away, that tells us that that's your guitar.
Right on, man.
Then we'll come in.
And then swarmed.
Yeah, they did. There was like,
Was he all like hyped out, strung out on drugs? One of those type of thefts?
he was actually one of the janitors at the college.
Oh,
Yeah.
ouch.
So of all the guitars, I knew then that he had already gone through all of my girls,
Yeah.
and that was the one that he wanted.
Okay. How many guitars did you have?
12.
Okay. Wow.
That was about how many I had at my height.
Wow.
I'm down to 4 now.
See, I had one microphone, one mic stand, and I was good, man. You know, I
It
had
makes
this little. I
makes
forget what
it
it.
easy.
Yeah, I forget what it was. I had some little.
You had a PA system.
I know, but that was more for band purpose. But I had that one effects thing I had. Remember that? I don't remember what the hell it was, but it would where it would you would fuck with it, sort of the delay and reverb and stuff when we played.
Oh yeah, he had.
I forget what it was.
I'll think about
Yeah.
it while we're
Yeah,
finishing.
but you
this
told
up.
me to buy it, so I went and found it. And, you know,
He had the most badass delay reverb at the time, and I can't remember who made it. It was so simple. All it was a reverb and a delay. It had like 2 buttons, but this thing sounded fantastic,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
man.
yeah.
What 2 guitars do you have that you just showed us when you were panning your camera around the room?
Oh, this is my Jackson and my Charlo.
Is the Jackson the one that you bought that you
Yeah.
had to go? That's awesome that you still have it.
Yep.
Right on.
I also have I've got a couple Gibsons. On my acoustic line, I love Alvarez, so I've got a couple 6 strings and a 12 string. I've got a couple Gibsons, but one of my Gibsons is the, oh shoot, what did they call it? It has a, oh my gosh, I was just, that's what it's got a Les Paul body with a Flying V headstock, and they
Oh.
only made them between 74 and 76, a Marauder.
Yes, I was trying to think of what they called those things.
Paul Stanley used to play one every once in a while.
Right on.
So I got one, and I got that one from a buddy in high school. His brother had it, and he said, my older brother's off to college. His guitar's in the closet. Do you want to buy it? I said, of course I want to buy it. He said, $100, it's yours. So I bought it for $100.
That's a
Yeah.
smoking deal.
And then I got the crazy idea of Mr. Modification, is that instead of the humbucker single coil, and it was the wax covered pickups or paraffin covered or whatever they covered them in.
Those were awesome. Yeah, they were paraffin covered.
This is such a guitar geek part of the show.
I waited 106 episodes to
Right,
talk
which
to
is-
another
which-
guitar player.
I know Mike's been on me for so long to get a musician. I've been trying, and then here you are, Kelly. We didn't even know you're a musician, so you're just feeding his fire, which is fantastic.
That's
so
what we
please,
do, right?
So please continue, because it's all going right over my head, man. But I don't
Mr.
care.
Mr. Modification, I thought I had the great idea of throwing in a couple of humbuckers. I don't remember if they were
Probably DiMarzio
Okay, so
X2Ns.
for us ignorant folks, what's a humbucker?
So
a two
have-
pole pickup where they're two side by side.
Oh, pickups. As soon as you said pickup, I knew what it was.
yeah,
I just
so
didn't know-
instead of
I
having one, they're
Yeah.
wired together.
Okay, I just didn't realize that was the technical term was a humbucker, because that'd be a great name for a band. The humbucker.
So when
band.
here's a quick history on guitars. When they invented the guitar, there was only the single coil, and when you
Right.
plugged it into the amplifier, there was a inherent hum in the amp that would never go away. So as
Oh.
music got louder, the hum got louder, and it's annoying, right? Every time you
Gotcha.
stop playing, it's
Yeah, yeah.
Well, somebody just one day said, I wonder if I stick these two together and I put extra windings on them, if that won't make the hum go away, because now the polarity is being reversed, right? You have positive and negative pushing against
Right.
or away from each other. And they plugged it in, and that's why they call it a humbucker. There's no more hum.
Is that where Neil Peart got the line? Everybody got to deviate from the norm.
Yeah.
Reverse polarities.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right
could
on.
be.
Right on.
I got a great famous guitar player story for you. So I'm working at Guitar Center in Phoenix. Shout out to 152. Woo! And this guy comes in wearing a Hawaiian shirt and a pair of shorts. It's the middle of the summer, just like he looked like somebody's dad walking in off the street, right? The only thing that made him look a little different is he had shoulder length hair, and he was probably, I don't know, 50 some at the time. He's looking at, Guitar Center puts all their most expensive guitars at the top where nobody can reach them,
Right.
obviously. He kept looking up, and nobody was helping him. So I walked up and I said, hey, you need some help? He says, where you guys keep your special guitars? And he had a thick English accent. And I said, well, that's as special as they get right there. And he said, no, you misunderstand. Where do you keep your special guitars? I was like, oh, I had only been working there for maybe 6 months, 8 months. I really still didn't understand what he meant, So I went and asked my manager, and he said, oh, yeah, he's looking for like custom shop stuff that we would keep, maybe even not here. But he says, ask him what he's specifically looking for. So he was specifically looking for Gibsons and Fenders. So we take him in a private room, and we had to get some stuff from Scottsdale and Tempe. So there's like 25-minute drive back and forth on a good day. So I'm talking to him, and he starts talking about his friends over in England, specifically Jimmy and David and Robert. And I'm like, you can't be meaning Paige, Plant, and Gilmore. He's like, oh, yeah, they're my mates, you know?
My mates, gotta get a guitar, go to get back home.
Yeah.
Play with the boys in the band. What you got for me, Mike? What you got?
So we find him this Tom Murphy. You know, do you know who Tom Murphy is? He's a master builder for Gibson.
Yep.
Beautiful. This guitar was $12,500 in 2003. So you can imagine what it would cost now. He starts playing this thing, Kelly. I can't tell you how much that day showed me what a $3,000 guitar sounds like and a $12,000 guitar sounds like. So much so that he tried different cables. And because he was the one playing it, you could totally hear, you know, all the nuances that he was looking for. Come to find out, this guy's name was Ted Turner. He played in a band called Wishbone Ash, and he's rated by Rolling Stone magazine as not only the inventor, him and his buddy, of the twin guitar attack that Judas Priest used, that Iron Maiden used, that Def Leppard used, that everybody adopted, your band adopted.
Yeah.
He is credited with being the originator of that particular, here's how rock and roll is going to be presented to the world.
That is cool.
I knew who he was because I worked with a guy in the graphic arts industry named Daryl Haldane. He was from South Africa, and he worshipped Wishbone Ash. So he had already introduced that band to me years before. And the guy told me, he's like, you probably don't know who we are because we were significant about the time you were born, you know? I said, oh, I know who you are. And that fascinated him. So he
That
signed
was the
my
street
CD.
cred right there.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, we got about 15 minutes left here. Let's like, because Mike and I we like to deep dive into things. So you're married, 4 kids. How old are the kids?
My oldest is 29,
Okay.
then 25, 21, and 18. My baby just graduated high school.
Okay. All boys, girls, mix?
My oldest 2 are boys. My youngest 2 are girls.
Okay, yeah. So my daughter's was born in 96. My son was born in 2001. My son's a Marine. My daughter's giving us our 2 little grandchildren. She's
Nice.
going to school, be a nurse and stuff. Is everybody still kind of staying in the Wisconsin area where you live, or are they venturing out? Like we've had some guests that the kids are like all over different parts of the world.
No, I've got my oldest is in Pittsburgh, and
Are they excited about the Aaron Rodgers pickup?
he's not much of a football fan, so he could care less.
Gotcha. Poor
You know,
Steelers.
Aaron Rodgers just needs to go away. Fine.
Right?
Thank you.
Just call it a day, man. It's like when Brett Favre did that shit. Like just call it a day. Your last 2 years weren't productive. Like LeBron James, go away now. Go
Yeah.
away. You're destroying the NBA. Every time you open up Facebook, Instagram, I saw a reel last night of the greatest actor in the NBA, and it was LeBron. All his like a 15-minute collage basically of all the stupid shit he does. You know, one was a phantom punch. He was going around a basketball player, and then like nothing touched his body. The guy with the ball didn't touch him at all. LeBron goes,
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
like, dude, just go away now. You're trying to get stats. Go away. Emmitt Smith, when we left the Cowboys, he was going for stats.
Yeah.
Just
You know,
stop.
and it's time, for a lot of people for a lot of different things, and I watch, come around here, we've got a lot of casinos in the area,
Okay.
and I watch some of the bands that we played with back in the day in their greatness.
Right.
Now they're reduced to playing for crowds of 200 at the casino. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, just,
But see, there's a thing though, Kelly. Is that
I
their
know
fire?
what you're going to say.
Is that their fire, man?
I
Because
know.
if that's their fire, they're going to continue. Because believe it or not, If our band Nemesis was still together and we had rode that crescendo, we'd still be playing shows. We probably wouldn't be.
Potawatomi Casino.
Right. I mean, just because if that's your passion, right, then you have to do what you love, just like you preached earlier on your thing. So,
Dude, we
you knew
played
what
a-
I was going to say.
dude,
You
we-
just walked right into that.
I knew you were going to come back to that
We
because
played a
that's-
pizza joint where they were advertising people's Johnson Party of Five, your pizza's ready, while we were jamming. You know,
I think we've all had gigs like that.
Absolutely. That's the fun of it, man. That's the fun
know,
of
the
playing in
stage
front of
is-
three
I know-
people to play in front of 2,000 people. And the difference of your performance is exactly the same because you're playing and doing what you love. It doesn't matter how many people are there. If you do
here's
it,
where I'll agree with you and disagree with you. I completely agree with what Chris said. You walked right into that one. But here's where I'll agree and disagree with you. If the band is still able to play the songs effectively,
agreed.
I don't care if they're playing for 5
Yeah.
people or 5 million, right?
Yeah.
If they're doing what they love and they're making a living at it, that's great. But when they become a parody of themselves,
Like Axl Rose and David Lee Roth.
then I have a problem with it.
I agree with that 100%. That was the caveat to that. That was the asterisk. Absolutely.
Do not go out there and ruin that band's image.
No.
The only one that I'll throw out there right now that people seem to have a problem with, and they've eased off, thankfully, is the Pantera reunion. We can't get Daryl and we can't get Vinny up there anymore because they're dead, right?
Right.
Let the people who never got to see it. They picked the two best people on the planet to represent those two people who are no
Right.
longer with us. If you didn't get to see Pantera, this is the next best thing.
Right, and there's a difference of that than like say Foreigner, because Foreigner's still touring. There's not one single original member from Foreigner touring.
No.
What are you doing? What are you doing? You're a cover band.
Yes.
Go away. Go away.
Then it becomes a real revelation of or exposure of what is business versus
Right.
music, because now it's the brand, and it doesn't matter who's representing the brand, it's
Right.
the brand. You know, Levi's jeans will always be Levi's jeans. Even
But
if
let me ask you this before we get too far away from that subject. How do
Yeah.
you feel about that? Like, if all the members of Foreigner are unable to represent that music anymore, is there anything wrong with their blessing these people carrying it on? Because Kiss wants to do the same thing, right?
I think it's bullshit. If there's not an original member in the band, there's no point in it's Led Zeppelin. Okay, why did Led Zeppelin stop? Bonham died.
right?
Boom. Right.
That's a
Aerosmith
no-brainer.
stopped touring. Why did Aerosmith stop touring recently? Because of Steven Tyler's voice. You're not replacing Steven Tyler. Now Linkin Park took a decade to replace Chester, but I don't think that does the band any justice because she's not Chester. She will not sing like Chester. They got a chick because of the range. She needed to be able to
But they're in the same boat where you
Right.
can't because he's dead. It's the same thing. with
exactly.
Alice in
It's like
Chains.
NXS has gone nowhere since Michael Hutchins died. So
You can't.
AC/DC
He's the John Bonham of NXS. You can't
Right.
replace that dude.
Exactly. AC/DC was lucky; they had two lifetimes, Bon Scott and Brian Johnson, right? But I mean, name other bands that have been able to carry on without an integral part. And aside from AC/DC, I don't really, I
Van
can't really.
Halen.
Well, okay, yeah, Van Halen. That was a whole different
That's the
dynamic,
only
right?
other one, though.
Right. So there's two out of all the bands everywhere.
Couldn't agree with you more.
So I think Foreigner just needs to hang it up. We're done.
But I want his opinion on it.
Yeah.
I don't even think Van Halen was able to carry on without their original formation, because
They were actually more successful
it was a
monetarily.
different style.
Yes.
It was a different music. It was a different.
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
More popular though.
I think that Van Halen, after Dave left, I think Van Halen was done. And then it's great that those musicians got together because they produced something that was really outstanding.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Van Halen
It's Van Hagar.
or Sam Halen.
I agree with that.
Oh,
but
that's a cool one, Sam Halen. I like that. I never heard that one before.
I agree with that. But in the two examples that we brought up, Chris is right. They were both more successful on the flip side.
Yeah.
AC/DC
Absolutely.
and Van Halen.
Right.
But every musician in the world will say exactly what you just said. Van Halen was dead after David Lee Roth left the band.
Yeah,
It didn't
and see-
have the
and-
same
right.
energy to it.
Right. Well, it's different because because I've seen we've all seen clips of Van Halen in their heyday. David Lee Roth just he would never stay on track with the songs. He would never sing in key live. He just some of the stuff I watched, like, dude, just stop.
Well, he was drunk a lot for
right,
sure.
right. So that's the thing. I think Sam Halen will call it, because I love that, Kelly.
That is great.
They put on a show where you knew what you were going to get every night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You knew Sammy was, I mean, they're going to be drunk and whatnot because they're a party band, but he still performed at the level that he held himself accountable to. He was a professional singer. He wasn't showman comparison. David Lee Roth. No, we can all agree, I think, that David Lee Roth set the foundation as a frontman in a rock and roll band, who to be, how to be, how to look, the persona, the charisma, the engaging of the crowd, right? Because even though he wouldn't sing, I saw something the other day. It was a compilation. They were doing an interview with him and his back and forth with their music and stuff.
But you can't take away from the fact that when they were good, they were good. They were
good.
Yeah.
Most nights he was on his game, and they just ruled the world with the fucking stacks all the way to the
Oh
ceiling.
yeah.
You know, that Unchained video that you always bring up.
I love that.
That was one of the first images
was
that
the
I
first.
saw
Yeah.
that made me say, holy shit, how can I do that too? Because I want to stand in front of all those
Yeah, that was
speakers.
that was the first song, the first video I ever saw of Van Halen. I was the same thing. I'm like, you know. And now,
But
you're
I
watching,
also
it's like,
agree with
dude.
your statement that I saw Van Halen 2 or 3 times with Sammy, and
Yeah.
it was a quality product every
Right.
night. Right.
And I saw both. I saw David Lee Roth on the Eat 'Em and Smile tour, which was
I
mean,
did too. I saw
yeah.
him open up for Cinderella opened up for them and blew him off the stage.
Yeah. And he was flawless. Like he was singing, he was in tune, he knew the lyrics, he
Yeah,
wasn't
that band
fucking
was
around.
tight, man.
Right. He wasn't fucking around and then he starts fucking around so much, and it takes away, I think, because being a singer, I want the singer to do their fucking job. Not, sit there with a bottle. Because then later in life, I saw him and Sammy on the Sammy and him would rotate headlining nights. Right? So Sammy kicked him off. Sammy just blew him off the stage from a performance standpoint. David Lee Roth comes out. He headlined that night. Lights go dark, and we're just sitting there waiting. He comes out wearing this blue sequins jumpsuit, skin tight, and has a bottle of Jack, and he's using the bottle of Jack as his penis the whole show. Like he's singing, and it's like, what are you doing, man? And we left. We left like, I don't know, 20 minutes into the set because it's so embarrassing and just like, dude, come on. Like, just do what you're here to do.
There's
Entertain
being
people.
funny and entertaining, and then there's just being an idiot.
Right. And he was just being an idiot.
Correct.
It was disappointing. But so I've seen Van Halen with David Lee Roth. So I saw solo with the band, and I saw Sammy. Nick and I've seen Sammy a few times solo, and then with Van Halen. So yeah, it's two different products on stage.
Sammy is one of the best live rock and roll singers the world has ever heard.
Yeah, agreed.
He's just consistent night after.
Right.
He doesn't have the biggest range,
No.
but at his age, to be able to go out there and deliver like he does, even to this day, is fascinating.
Yeah, because
He's like
Axel.
78 or something?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like the same age as Bill Clinton.
Yeah. It's
Look
ridiculous.
at Sammy and look at Bill Clinton.
Right. Well, Sammy hasn't had, 67% of the people he's known killed to weigh on his soul. He's probably had 67% of the people gotten drunk with him.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Spreading love and positivity into the world,
Or
and just straight up murder.
Right.
and the dynamic of the life,
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be on
yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
list.
We're all gone tomorrow. Damn it. Put a voice to the name. Hey, so this is Kelly.
Hey, before we let him
Yeah,
go,
yeah,
do you still
yeah.
play?
Yeah.
I do still play, but it's limited.
Make it a priority.
Most of my time is, working with people and talking with people. And
So put 10 minutes back into your day every day.
I do, but
You'll send me a message later on. You'll be like, thanks, man. I've been doing it every day, and now my life has changed.
Yeah, this is your fire,
you
Kelly.
need that for you.
this is my fire.
I had to do that for me. That's why I'm telling you.
When I'm
This
traveling,
guy did that for me. He made me accountable and start playing again.
and I've got a full studio in the basement too that I record at still.
Right on.
But when I'm not traveling, doing workshops and keynote stuff, I'm playing, and I get calls lots of times to sit in with a praise band or sit in with a pit orchestra for a different production of something. So I'll always pick a gig like that. But
That's awesome.
I'm not looking to be in a band because
Right.
I've lived that life. And
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm okay with
Yeah.
where I'm at. But yeah, oh no, I'm never going to stop playing. That's why I've got, a couple of my girls right here.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. So, before we wrap this thing up, I want to ask you. I want to go back in time to our conversation. You had you had the piercings from the nose to the ears,
Yeah.
right? Okay. How do you blow your nose, man?
The same as everybody else. But here's the thing. When I did it, I got my nostrils pierced in, I could almost tell you the year. It was 80, I bet it was 89.
Okay.
Before it was a thing.
Sure. Kind of like when I shaved my head in '93, where nobody was shaving their head.
Yeah.
Freaked us all out.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
I went to a place where they did ear piercings, and I
Yeah.
said, I want you to pierce my nose. And they said, I don't think we can do that. I said, well, I saw, this in the magazine. I think Snake already had
Yeah,
his. I think that's
yeah.
where I got the idea.
Yep.
I've seen the thing, so I know you can do it. And she literally called the doctor, the hospital, and asked if it was okay to make sure it wasn't going to paralyze my face. And so she stuck the gun like right up in my nose. And I'm like, ah! Oh my God, that hurt like hell. So I had like a normal piercing here, like a giant post in it. And then I'm like, I'm already here. Go ahead and do the other one. So she stuck the gun up. Oh, dude. So I've got
So
these
when you-
giant posts. And so I could blow my nose, except when you get a cold, the snot just hangs off of those big inside things. So you always have to keep it closed, keep it cleaned up.
So did you sleep with the chains?
No, I took the chains out.
Okay. Okay. Because that was my other thing. Like, how do you sleep with that shit, man?
No,
Let me make you feel better about that period in your life. These kids today are splitting their tongues.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it's
You can't fix that.
not me.
no. I could see certain aspects of a dynamic that would be beneficial to the female part of that
And
relationship.
that
but
would be it.
that would be it. Yeah. What a great place to end the show. Hey, we are Chris and Mike. This is Kelly Mayer. He is Project Find Your Fire, and that's projectfindyourfire.com. Scoot this way. I want to read your thing. Kelly. There you go. Be fearless in pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. Projectfindyourfire.com. Check them out. You're going to love them. We love them, and we just met them. So this has been a great, engaging conversation.
Yeah, thank
we
you
always,
so much, man. That's awesome.
yeah. Thank you very much for joining us and letting us have some time with you because it's valuable. If you've watched our shows at all, you'll know we always end with "Don't let the bad days win." If you're feeling suicidal, depressed, find somebody to talk to. Somebody will miss you tomorrow if you don't wake up. So don't create that hole in somebody else's soul. Reach out, get some help because everybody loves you. Everybody needs you. And don't be that person. Mike and I both had experiences with somebody taking their own lives and it sucks. So just don't do it. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Like, subscribe, follow, all kind of jazz. Kelly's show will drop here in I don't know, a week or so, something like that. We'll give you all the content we have from here, Kelly, so you can share it all you want as well. Until next time, anything else you want to say, Kelly, and wrap it up?
No, live with love and live with passion. That's
I
all.
like that. Live with love, live with passion. See you later, everybody. Have a great day.